Bhai mentions Adam and Eve, and then in Dasam Bhai, the Bhai that's in Gobind Singh Sahib he wrote us, Gobind Singh Sahib he talks about the sort of the world coming out of the demigods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, out of Hindu demigods. So there's like an Abrahamic version that is existing. There's a version that Guru Gobind Singh Sahib said, and there's this overarching and repetitive theme of the whole world coming out of one God. The subject of Gurbani isn't a creation story. Guru Sahib actually don't claim, they don't delve into this. What Bhai Sahibji said and what you said as well, that is as far as Gurbani's judgment about the universe comes. That the universe was made out of equal God. God had this idea that I'm alone and I want the expanse of the universe, and then that universe was made out of equal God. Now we don't really know how many times the universe was made, and we don't know how many times the universe was destroyed. So it could be in one time that the universe had someone called Adam and Eve, and in another instance there could have been an instance where it was created, or it seemed to be created in a Hindu way. But however, Gurbani tells us that the universe at its primal time was created from Nar, and that's the subject of Gurbani. And even afterlife and the destruction of the universe, Gurbani is not apocalyptic in that sense. It doesn't really talk about the end. And finally, just before we go on to the next part of this talk, reincarnation. So how do you get into one of these zones? How do you either, because it's quite interesting for us, and I think it's quite confusing as well, that how do we know where we're going to go? Or what makes a person reincarnate? What makes a person go into heaven or hell? What are these things? So Gurbani tells us, and this is by Gurdas Ji. By Gurdas Ji's written, Jug Jug Mer Sarir Ka Basna Badda Ave Jave, that reincarnation comes about from Basna, and Basna is the name for desire. The understanding of desire in this context is when you become obsessed with something. So you're fixated on something in your life, and then that's what you become. So your habits define you. So some people, like food can define a person. A person's relationships sometimes define people. There's a sort of a separation, I think, between a passion for something and an obsession in something. Just to expand on that, there's a whole shabad in Gurbani that talks about this. One thing is, one question I can ask you, why do we do Simran? Why is Simran important? There's lots of reasons. We have some. Why is Simran important? To open your Dasam. Okay, anything else? Yeah.
Remove Homer.
Say?
Remove Homer.
Remove Homer. Anyone else? Okay.
Peace.
To peace, Shanti. Anything else? There's countless.
To wash away sin.
To wash away sins. Right? All of these things are true. All of these things are true. One thing that I do want to say, because Baji's touched upon it, and we're kind of all in that age group. I'm not a lot older than a lot of you I may look it, but I'm not. What you said about Dasam Dwar, does anyone else know? Because this has just come into conversation. Has anyone else heard of the Dasam Dwar except for Baji? Yeah? Does anyone actually just want to tell me a little bit about the Dasam Dwar? No? Anyone else? Anything?
The spiritual gate.
Yeah.
Our gate is what
Spiritual gate. Anyone else? Is the Dasam Dwar an aim of Gursikhi? No? Sorry. It was Zahibaji. Yeah, I don't know. I can't relate sounds to bases. I think it's an issue I'm just coming up with. So what we say, you think it is, it's one of the aims of Gursikhi. Can you expand on that? Guru Maharaj is in Dasam Dwar. Anyone else?
No, because they say that's a Raj Najam. So after the whole idea of Sikhi, usually someone going to Sikhi because of the Dasam Dwar.
Yeah.
But then once you have to take the whole idea of Shakti, it's all in the Guru.
Brilliant. And what I just wanted to stress to you was, and you can look this Pankti up, there's a Pankti in Gurbani Man nirmal nahi dasveं द्वार. Your mind is not pure at even the 10th gate. The reason I'm saying this is because there's a lot of courses and there's a lot of people out there that charge sometimes lots of money and they claim to help you open your dasam dwar. And there's a lot of Sikh people, you'd be surprised, around the country that are going to these meditation and these retreat camps. Gurbani tells us that your dasam dwar can open. Your dasam dwar is, again, literally, it's something physical, right? There's no dwars that are physical that we can see. There's this one dwar that maybe we can't see it, but it still exists within our body. This is something that is inside of us. It's not like an external thing. It's not like God that we're reaching out to. So that was just like a disclaimer that if any of you will come across these things, that's not the aim. These things can help you in your spirituality, but I wouldn't be spending so much money on it. All of these things for a Sikh, you get Maharaj Sahib on your side, you get the Guru happy, all of these things come part and parcel basically. Does that make sense again? Is anyone confused with the idea of Dasam Dwar? The Dasam Dwar can open you up to a lot of experiences and a lot of senses. It's like a heightened form of awareness, but it's not the aim. And you can continue to have a filthy mind, you can continue to have bad thoughts, even if your Dasam Dwar opens. That's what Sikh Granth Sahib Ji Bani tells us. Again, so now let's come up to this idea of desire and the definition of desire that we're looking at as obsession. Gurbani gives us this Shabad, it's by Bhagat Tirlochan Ji. And in this Shabad, it kind of gives us like, it's one of the few Shabads in Gurbani that's quite explicit and quite clear about where we might be heading. I'm not saying that any one of us here should be or will be subject to reincarnation, but this kind of gives us, if this is where we're heading and if this is what we're obsessing about, then this might be the aim. So Gurbani says, Antakal Lakshmi Simra. If you're fixated on money, then a person that's fixated on money ends up as a snake. That was their obsession during their life. The question that I asked you about Simran, how it relates to all of this is simply this. I'm pretty sure, I hope, not any of you have been subject to torture. I really hope that. But when you are tortured, and obviously in the last 30 years, a lot of our Singhs were tortured, and a lot of the Singhs that survived torture, what they'll tell you is that when you're tortured, when you go through pain, maybe the first time that you're hit, some of you may have this experience from different types of martial art as well, but the first time that you're hit, you might say Vaheguru. You might say Vaheguru. If you're a religious person and you kind of do Simran, you might say Vaheguru. The second time you might say Vaheguru. The third time you might say Vaheguru. But eventually you will start to scream and you will start to cry. That generally is what happens. Death is so excruciating, the way that Gurbani has told us in some of its Shabads. Death is like a torture. And the only way that you will be able to do Simran or you'll be able to remember Vaheguru is if you were doing Simran and it became a habit, you became fixated on it, and it became like an obsession. So that's like the only positive obsession to have. If you have an obsession with money, you end up as a slave. And the second Panati of this Shabad tells us that we should never forget Simran. We should never forget Simran. The third Panati of this Shabad tells us that someone that thinks constantly about their relationships, Antakal jo istri simra aisi chinta mein je mara beswa joon, they're reincarnated as a prostitute. So that's Gurbani. I think this will help us understand how it all works as well. A pig has many piglets, 12 piglets, quite common. Gurbani says, Antakal jo ladke simra aisi chinta mein je mare. If you remember your children, we all know how attached our parents can be to us. And sometimes that attachment is quite dangerous. That is quite dangerous. And if on your deathbed you remember your children, Gurbani gives its best its decision that Sukar Joon Wal Okre, that you will end up as a pig. And the reason for that is it's not even just a punishment. Because that's what you desired for, isn't it? That's what you were obsessed with, your children. Now, God has put you into a reincarnation where there are lots and lots of children, and that's the purpose of your life in a way, in that June. There's been stories that Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj Ji goes out to salivate to redeem a Sikh that's gone into Junes, into the cycle of reincarnation. But that person may be an ant, that person may have turned into a snake. But that person says, I'm quite happy where I am. I'm quite happy where I am. I don't really want salvation because I'm happy. And that's the kind of tunnel vision. It's like addicts, really. Addicts don't know that is this good for us or is this true happiness. But at the time, it seems very pleasurable. Ghosts. I know a lot of people have come to this talk simply for some ghost stories and to talk about some spooky things. We will go on to that. We'll have that in a discussion form. But how do people become ghosts? What kind of obsession leads to ghosts? So this Sharma, the one thing it identifies is that ghosts are not like supernatural beings in a sense. What Gurbani is telling us in this Shabad is Antakar jo mandir simra. By mandir means your house, your home. Now that sometimes means like physically you really, really like your house. Or you're obsessed with your house, your cars, you're obsessed with your family and all of these different things and you just don't want to let go. And then sometimes the reincarnation or the life form that you have to go through is that's one of the reasons that you become a ghost. When you can't let go of things, then God puts you in a form or puts you near those people, and that's why a lot of sort of ghost stories or people's encounters with ghosts is ghosts of their own family members and all of these things. So pray the John Val out there. And then finally, Andhakar Narayana Simre Aisi Chinta Meje Bare. Again, so if you remember God in your last and final moments, then you will attain salvation. Okay, a quick question. Say we're going camping. What are the things usually on a camping list? What would you pack if you were going camping? Anyone, it's not really a spiritual question, it's quite simple. Toothpaste, okay.
A towel.
Towel, okay. Sorry? A tent, okay. Let's change the question a bit. Say, let's not call it a camping trip. Say you know that you're going to be lost, you're going to be struggling for your survival in the jungle. What things would you take? Chocolate. Okay. Anything else? Chocolate. So food. You take food, right? You take food. Anyone else? Anything? Water. Yeah. Lighter. So for fire and for light. Yeah. So okay. We get it. So the way that we should look at the next life is, we need to prepare. Like we prepare for a camping trip. We prepare for like a survival experience, right? Maharaj has told us that the future, it's not really bright out there. We're going to need a lot of preparation. And what are the problems that are going to be in this trip? So this is again from Sukhjeevan Sahib. In Sukhjeevan Sahib, it tells you all of these things that we're all going to encounter at the end of our life. So the first thing, how scary is it if you embark on a journey and you don't actually know how far you've got to go? I don't think there's actually, as a person, I really struggle with navigation. My wife can testify for that. The sat-nav can be telling me to go in one direction, but I will still go the wrong way. And I actually find it really daunting, and maybe that's why I got lost as well whilst I was coming here. But the journey, Guru Maharaj Ji is saying, after our death is never ending. Pata hi nahi lagda ki kinni dur jana hai. The next thing, it's so dark there. And darkness, whether we accept it or not, darkness is scary. I'm sure many people are saying, we're not scared of the dark. But when you don't know when the darkness is going to finish, I don't think there's anything more terrifying than darkness itself. Let's move on. जहाँ पंथ तेरा कौन नहीं आना, जिथे थानू कोई जानदा ही, no one knows you. You look around and there's no one to help you out. You get lost maybe somewhere here. You can ask for directions, but where there's no one, there's no friendly faces. How scary can that be? जहाँ महाप्यार तब तो the heat, the temperature of this place is so hot, and and you feel extremely thirsty, you feel hungry, and your body is constantly longing for things. So this is the trip that we're all going to have to embark on. This is like 50% of the Shabad, because the other part of this Shabad explains to us how to prepare for this. You don't know how long this route is going to be. So maybe for some of you as well, that are lardly of their mom, or your mother's pack lunches. For this journey, you're going to need to take like some food with you, like Bhai said about chocolate. Harka naam uha sang dosa. Dosa is the name. Like if you've ever seen like a roti powdered over, and sometimes, so in this country put sabji or something in it, but one of the things that they used to do in India, they would put some ghee inside of it and some sugar. So it's like a nutrient. So you need to take your packed lunch for this journey. What is that packed lunch? Harka naam. That's why we should do Simran. It's really dark there, so you need some sort of torch, you need some sort of light. Again, what is going to be your torch? Harka naam sang ujiyara. Naam, again, Simran is going to illuminate your way. Gurbani is going to illuminate your way. You might remember the first day that you started your courses or you came here. It's quite daunting when you don't know people. Your first day at school, all of these different things. But on a journey where you're not going to know anyone, and this is true, I will share with you a real life story after this. Naam will manifest and it will become like a friend. That can be in the form of shaheed things or demigods or dev. All of these things, they come about from Naam. You have Naam, then Naam will become your best friend on this journey. So this scorching heat that's going to be falling on you, one of the things that people carry in the heat is actually an umbrella, because an umbrella protects you from rain and it protects you also from sun. So the umbrella that you're going to have is Harka Naam, Harke Naam ki tum upar chham. The shadow that's upon you, the thing that's going to give you some sort of coolness, again that's Naam. And Jaha Trikha Man Tuj Akar Khe, where you feel so thirsty constantly, Teh Har Har Amrit Barkhe. Teh Nane Ka Har Har Amrit Barkhe. Again, there, God's name will be that water that you're going to be carrying. You must have seen all of these sort of survival shows and these documentaries. The main thing is water. And Sadhguru said he finishes off this Shabad in that way, that God's name will become your survival essence, your water. You won't understand any of this. I'll tell you the story. The reason it's written like that, because I've been trying to get in contact with someone that I know for a few days actually in regards to research for this talk. They only really rang back sort of an hour or two before this talk. So in the PowerPoint, the notes that I was making whilst they were on the phone to me, I put them down. If we actually switch the Facebook Live up, no, possible. Because the person has